Well, my name is Innocent Urunga. I'm the co-founder of Pizza Africana. And as it states, Africana by itself, we are trying to make pizza for Africans, made by Africans to build Africa. Yeah, so Pizza Africana came along by virtue of three foodies that also love pizza so much. But beyond just loving pizza, they had a heart for Africa. And with that, we sat down and asked ourselves, how can we make our economy much better as we grow ourselves as entrepreneurs? And we realized there's one major challenge in Kenya particularly, and Africa at large, that we didn't have a lot of franchise companies that started out of Africa that were taken abroad. You could name a few, rather count by your fingertips, especially in the food sector. And with that, we asked ourselves which industry made more sense to build a franchise fast and be able to build it in a way that it can compete at a global level, and something that is authentically African. And that's how we settled on Pizza Africana as something that we wanted to build going forward. So in short, we are trying to build a premier franchise that is African, made by African, but for Africa, because their whole goal is to build the African economy by empowering farmers, empowering the food sector in the country by education, and as well as the manufacturing industry in future, and agriculture as a whole. So it's a whole ecosystem that we're looking to build. We just chose pizza because we love pizza so much, and of course the margins make sense too. So I mean, we were all doing different businesses, but the thing that brought us together was the fact that whatever we were doing, we're trying to build something that would impact Africa, and something that would be kind of worldly known and put Africa on the map in all our different endeavors. So when we came together, that's actually what we were trying to pull our efforts together and build. And then we started strategizing. In fact, there were different ideas in the beginning.
Which year was this?
I mean, we were doing different things previously, but we came together this year. Sometimes back in 2022, sometimes in January, Feb, and we just started playing around with ideas. Then in March is when the concept actually came to life, and we started building it from there. But operations, we started operations in like towards second week of August. So we've been building it in terms of structuring, business planning, marketing strategies, and all those kind of aspects before we started. Yeah. So I mean, we realized one thing when you're talking about pizza is, first of all, this capital for setting up is really intensive. So I mean, but as entrepreneurs, our work is to solve problems. So we asked ourselves, if this is what we want to do, where can we start? And because one of the key aspects was to build Africa, that meant that we had to make a pizza that's affordable, and we had to make pizza that utilizes local ingredients. And with that, we decided to find a location that will not be costly for us to operate, but still be able to generate the best product possible with what we have. So this particular location puts us at a place where it's a low middle level income area, which is part of the key aspect we want to introduce pizza to mostly, but also puts us in a position where we're in the middle of the upper middle class, kind of, in a way, because we have Nyari, Runda, we're looking at Ruak on this other side, and Gadiga. So it puts us at a place where we can easily distribute to the market that is used to pizza, and as well introduce pizza to guys who have essentially not been introduced to well before, and make it affordable for everybody to afford, and gives us access to also like the biggest producers of cheese in the country, best cheese. We are probably like a few kilometers away from them. So access to them, to the ingredients, and access to the market, this place works best for us, though we'll be expanding soon as per our plans. Of course, financing has always been a biggest problem for for startups. So that's we can't live without stating that. So first of all, we did not have enough finances to set it up, to be honest. We had a couple of places where we wanted to pool funds, but then we realized that we have to source equipment from abroad, we have to source a couple of things here and there. So we decided, what do we have in our hands and where do we start? You know, so key challenge I can say was finances, which as well sent me straight to the sandbox also to kind of see how we can be able to access that, which they've been helping us to kind of position and ourselves in terms of branding, in terms of just the outlook of the business at large, so that when we present it to the global market, it makes sense, you know. So with that, of course, they say any idea that is not started doesn't exist, you know, it's not a business. So we just had to start with what we had. And another challenge that has come in, of course, is sourcing ingredients at a more affordable rate, because the quantities that we started with were not as big as our competitors, so we could not get competitive rates for supplies initially. But that has been changing as time goes. As the business grows, you're able to negotiate this kind of items and aspects. So I mean, the future is looking bright, to be honest. So far, so good. Yeah. So what you're saying, it's true. So I mean, as I said, our uniqueness comes in the fact that we're trying to build an African pizza that can compete on a global pedestal. And with that, then that means we have to create something that was originally ours, but beyond that, something that sources items from the African continent. And that's what we've actually been building. If you look at the big players on a global stable, you're looking at Pizza Hut, you're looking at Domino's, you're looking at Papa John's Pizza. On a local scale, you're also looking at Pizza Inn, you're looking at Pizza Hut and Domino's, who are also in the market. And if you look at how their pizzas are, they're kind of the same, the Neapolitan pizza. So we kind of have our Africana style. So we have all these kind of pizzas that are conventional. We call them classic pizzas. You'd get them everywhere in any other store. But if you come to Pizza Africana, you're sure that you're going to get a cassava-based crust. You're going to get, basically it's the home of the cassava-based crust, and it's also the home of the African-based ingredients. Plus, beyond that, all our items are fresh, straight from the farmers to our store. And we're actually making them hand-built. Guys don't do that with pizza anymore. So you find guys pressing their dough with dough presses. You'll find other guys, you hit the dough a little bit, pre-bake it before you put it so that it can come out faster. But you've managed to be efficient with the original way pizza was made. So when you come here, you're getting that feel of a home-based baked pizza. But a home-baked pizza, but you're still having it in a taste that is globally competitive. Yeah, so of course, as they say in business, you're as good as your weakest link, which means creating a team is important. So what we did initially is that we understood that if we were trying to build a franchise, branding is critical. So when we were coming up together, we had different capacities. Of course, I had some capacity of building business previously, no experience in making pizza personally, but then we had our co-founder called Ken, who had a background in interior designing and graphic design as well as branding, who also came in handy in crafting the whole design for the pizza Africana brand. And then we had Joseph, who was a chef for over 23 years, experience with some of the biggest franchises in the world. So with that, we believe we had a strong team. And we needed, because we had not made pizza together previously, we needed to make sure that whatever product we're making is legit and is good. So we sourced information and advice from some of the guys who have been in the pizza industry for a while. I mean, I won't mention names because some of them work for competitors, but really we had a director from one of the major global pizza brands. Yeah, so we've had advice from two directors of major pizza brands, one based in Ghana and one based in Kenya, of course. So with that, we were able to craft and create something that was authentically us and something that was unique. So in terms of employees, at the minute we only have one who's like a kitchen assistant. But as we said, we're looking at building the African continent. So we're looking at training people who have interest in the field to actually catch on in the field and be able, as we expand, we push them out to help us expand the market, as opposed to getting guys who've already got an experience, yeah. So what we look at mostly is attitude, really. Because all of us, when we came in together, we had never made a pizza in our life, but we made it. Ever since March, we've been testing out items, and we've made one that can be edible anywhere. You can take it in any place in the world and it will be eaten. So for us, number one item is attitude. Are you willing to actually learn? Are you willing to grow with us? Number two, we're looking at Pan-Africanism. Are you someone who's willing to grow the community around you? Because we'll be investing in education after that. We'll be investing in the agriculture after that. So are you someone who's actually willing to grow with the brand as it grows? And also we're looking at people who can catch on things a little bit faster, which attitude aids on that, So are you quick to learn, quick to adapt with changing times? Of course, you know how business environments are, So once you have those, I think everything else we believe is trainable. So we're looking for entrepreneurs, to be specific, as opposed to just guys who want to be employees and earn money and go. So guys who are willing to build the brand as it grows. Yeah, I think the advantage we have is the margins for pizza. The margins for pizza, and this is not to say that there's no barriers of entry, but like the margins of pizza make sense in a way that the business can kind of sustain itself as it grows, and you can only inject to grow your sales, because our cost of sales can be doubled by our margins, you know. So, but beyond that, we also have other business endeavors that we were doing previously that were generating something that initially were able to pull in and put in to fund the business to pick up. But as it goes, it's been progressive. And as we say, you know, a good product is a good product. You know, the market will adapt and move on. Like the first week, we sold probably 4 pizzas. Then you move on to the next week, you do 10, you do 20, you do 15, you know. So far, so good. And I can say our numbers are making sense in terms of the growth for the business. And we want to be organic at first, proof the concept. And then once we stabilize a little bit, then we can push into, you know, to proper funding, startup funding with what we're trying to build. Yeah, so aspects like Sandbox is what we're looking at. We're also looking at some international options for financing. Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to food, the first item is menu. You know, so your menu has to be competitive. so that was our first marketing strategy. That make sure our menu is competitive. Our menu reflects what we actually speak about and what we want to put forward. And then we looked at aspects of, you know, like third-party aggregators when it comes to delivery of our food, because being a new brand, you couldn't easily just set up and have guys walk through your doors and order. So because there was trust already built by third-party aggregators, we opted to use them mostly at the beginning. But beyond that, also social media has opened us up to the use of reels, the use of, you know, just general posting. We haven't done any paid campaigns yet, but the traction has been good. It's been organic. And also just local movement, you know, like the area that we're in, the traditional way of marketing, where you get posters out, flyers, brochures and stuff like that. So that's where we started from. On the B2B end, we've been having conversations with some organizations in terms of Sandbox included and other organizations in terms of managing or rather providing pizzas for their parties. So it's been good, just banking on the networks we've built over the years to kind of grow the business. Yeah. Me as a person, I think for me, of course, and anybody else, it would be Elon Musk, and anybody else. The reason being, the reason for me, I mean, everybody has their reasons. The reason why I'd say Elon on a global level, that is, I'd say Elon because of particularly what he did with Tesla, because I mean, most people think that Tesla was actually a company built to make cars, you know, but if you look at it, it was actually a vision to accelerate the world into a sustainable economy, you know. So with that, it's, for me, I feel quite inspired with that, and that's the same thing we're trying to build, is that we're not trying to build a pizza brand. What we're trying to build is we're trying to build something that will accelerate the economic stability of the African continent. Because pizza is food, but if you look at one pizza, you're having meats on it, you're having vegetables on it, you're having flour on it, and with that, you're looking at a whole ecosystem of farmers, you're looking at a whole ecosystem of young people also trying to get something to earn a living. And the more the franchise grows, the more we can go into agriculture, go into education, and actually bring up our continent to be more sustainable. So it's not about the pizza for us, it's more about how fast can we grow the economic sustainability of the African continent. So locally for me, I'd say, I think one of the person who's mentored me, probably nobody knows him or something, his name is James. So, I mean, for me, I've been able to be close to him as he does his business. He's in advertising, but you know, just the general operations of the business. You know, how do you handle financing? How do you handle accounting? How do you handle branding? How do you handle HR? How do you handle your operations at large? So having that, I was close to him, you know, for a couple of 1 or 2 years. I got to understand how really businesses are done, how really businesses are built to a global level. Yeah, so for me, I'd take that. Beyond him as a mentor, I'd say Chris Kirubi, particularly because of how he was pushing boundaries with his businesses. Yeah, I think for me, success is being able to build an empowered community, which I believe is something Africa has lacked for a very long time. Yes, we are empowered in terms of academics. We can go to school, earn degrees and all that. But we've yet, I mean, you can look at our leadership, we're yet to get to a place where we can actually come up with our own items. And in fact, the belief that we can come up with our own items and compete on an economic level globally has not been there. So for me, success is being able to be part of the journey to making Africa economically sustainable, and that youths of Africa can actually believe they can build something and take it to a global level. A lot of people are doing it, but their stories are not told. So we want to be one of those guys who will do it and our stories are told, so that we can inspire the future to do that. What have I enjoyed most is the building process. The building process. I think the creativity involved in the process for me is enticing, is exciting as well, and makes me want to do it again tomorrow, because the fact that you can come up today and build something that was never existing previously, or if it was existing not in a way that you've done it, for me it's just interesting. That's the exciting part. Apart from that, everything else is business as usual. Solving problems. I think for entrepreneurship, first of all, is I usually say this: entrepreneurs, people think they are born. I believe entrepreneurs are made. So you can make yourself an entrepreneur as much as you'd go to school to be an engineer. You understand? That's a skill that you're getting to build a business. I believe that entrepreneurship, at large, at a level that is supposed to be done, there's a lot of skills that have to be built. You have to be operationally able, you have to be financially able, you have to be HR, you have to have an understanding. Okay, so I think for entrepreneurship, passion by itself doesn't really help much. I think I've been doing business for the past probably 12 years or something. And it's been a learning process ever since. And even to be where initially it started with passion, and you think passion can build, but then you realize that you can't manage HR, you can't manage, you no idea about accounting, no idea about operations, you can't set systems. So I mean, ideally the first step as anyone who's passionate about entrepreneurship is gain the skills that entrepreneurs actually need. And which skills are those? You need to understand business and how it's managed, all angles of business at least, because when you're starting out, you'll be the accountant, you'll be the, you'll be the HR director, you would be the, operations director, you'll be the branding expert. So for you to be able to do this, you need to put yourself in a community of people who can enable you to do that, or find someone to mentor you through that journey, because you won't learn that in school. I mean, taxation and all these items, you can't learn that in school. Even if you are an accountant, there's still aspects of business in accounting management that you need to understand. So mentorship can help with that. And beyond mentorship, put yourself in a community like, of course, the Sandbox, the other items like the iHub, so these platforms that are built to actually build entrepreneurs, and hang around people who are managing startups to be able to keep your head in space, because there are times when you'll be sleeping at night lonely and your employees are happy. But you'd have to be. So number one, get access to a mentor or get access to a community that can be able to help you acquire the skills either by association or by paying to learn. It's not a motto, it's what we stand for. So we're trying to build an authentic African taste, which differentiates us from any pizza they should eat anywhere. And beyond that, we are trying to bring it to your doorstep, which is, we are in 2022. That's how it's happening. So we are providing affordability, we're providing convenience, and we're providing authentic Africanness. I think we had different stages. The first stage was basically to build a product that is authentically African. We've done that. The second phase for us has been to be able to make sure the market understands what authentic African taste really is. So that's what we're working on right now. Pushing our product in marketing, putting ourselves out there really. Then the next phase after that happens, and we're looking at expansion into different areas, and now putting out franchising licenses for guys who want to take this brand anywhere across the globe. So that's kind of what we're working on. Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Pizza Africana, PIZZA Africana with a K. And then you can also find us on pizzaafricana.com. You can as well, catch us on Bolt, on Uber Foods, on Glovo, for third-party orders to your doorstep. But you can as well call us on 0794 028 014 if you want to place a direct order. The truth is, if you place a direct order, you're guaranteed our normal store prices. Of course, third-party aggregators have their markup, and all those items. But with our direct orders, yeah, and we're also looking at free deliveries at all our places that we are located within our at least 5 kilometer radius from where we're located is free delivery. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us here. I really appreciate for the opportunity.